You fainted, Potter? Malfoy's voice cut sharper than a hex, a sneer delivered not just to Harry, but to every kid who's ever been told vulnerability is weakness. Episode 3 of Harry Potter dives headfirst into one of the most emotionally complex returns to Hogwarts yet. Gone is the whimsical back-to-school charm of earlier years, replaced now by dark skies, cold carriages, and the lingering chill of Dementors at the gates. This is Harry Potter at a turning point, haunted, doubted, and just beginning to understand that not all battles leave visible scars. In this breakdown, I'll focus on 3 key scenes left out or glossed over in the films that deserves their full weight in an HBO adaptation, from the uneasy silence of the moody carriages to the quiet power of Professor Lupin and the unsung support of McGonagall and Madame Pomfrey. The grim and the news isn't just about dark creatures, it's about what darkness does to us and who helps us through it. In today's episode, I'm going to be focusing on 3 main points I want HBO to adapt into this episode 3 of season 3. Let's have a look at these. In the last episode, we left off when Harry left the Dursleys' house. He was sitting on the side of the road and the night bus picked him up. We had the whole night bus scene, which is amazing. So if you haven't caught up on that, check out that previous episode. And we left off where Arthur was telling Harry, don't go after Sirius Black. And Harry was a bit confused. He was saying, why would I go after someone who's trying to kill me? So that's where we left up. Today we're picking up with the school scene. So this is going to be an emotional aftermath of the Dementor attack and the carriage ride where we meet the Professor Lupin, which is a nice scene. I'm going to talk more about that. So Harry saw 2 more towering hooded Dementors standing guard on either side. A wave of cold sickness threatened to engulf him again. So a couple of key things I think HBO can really do well here. So when Harry's getting onto the train, it was interesting to me when I was reading the books that the Cornelius Fudge arranges special cars from like the ministry to get them delivered to King's Cross. But if they were that worried about him, why did they not have special cars to deliver him to Hogwarts? Why have the interim train process? So that was really weird for me to see. But I think that's a nice touch to HBO. We could probably have some fancy, not night bus, but cars, because in the book it goes into detail where they speak about, the drivers were wearing nice clothes, they had fancy cars, and they were able to get to the front of queues and wish through like traffic and things. So I think there could be a nice scene there where we could have a car that is special. So we got like that night bus magic. So it'd be another interesting thing to see in the whole universe of Harry Potter. But yeah, they drop them off and they get on the train and the Dementor thing. So they get on there and they've got someone sitting in the corner. They're not sure who he is. Hermione, being the smart ass she is, turns out, oh yeah, Professor Lupin, says it on his trunk. And they discover he's sitting there, and Harry kind of lets Hermione and run into what's happened, and they're worried a little bit, and then the train stops. They're worried and something happens. So Harry faints. He's worried that he's the only one to faint. Why did nobody else faint? And he's like shaken and ashamed. And there's a scene there where Malfoy in the train takes the mick out of Harry, kind of like trying to play on the fact that he was like the only one that fainted, and Ron and Hermione didn't really have much of an effect. And that's the moment for Lupin to shine. Professor Lupin into the scene with his little like famous chocolate giving out and getting that famous in the book anyway. Madame Pomfrey's like, oh well, it's good we've got someone in the dark arts who knows about like that kind of stuff, where he was able to give them chocolate to recover. So it's a real swaying scene there, very mystical. I'm gonna be very closely watching HBO to see how they do the Dementor scene, because they've already said they don't want to get too invested into like CGI. So what does that mean? Will the Dementors be like used as plots, devices? Because originally, like from J.K. Rowling's point of view, she put in Dementors as like a rolling depression type feeling. So it's very interesting to see that from that point of view. So I think the film glosses over some of these, and I really want them to include more of them. They could expand in the article like the moody carriage, the bumpy ride, the looming gates as Harry gets closer into like turmoil. What he's seeing, like the screams he heard, it was like very quick in the movie version. We get more detail in the book, so maybe we need more detail on that. And then obviously when Malfoy has his public mockery, so you fainted, Potter. Is Longbottom telling the truth? You actually fainted? Is there a problem? Said a mild voice. Professor Lupin had just gotten out of the next carriage. So I feel this scene is like absent in the film and it's dramatic gold. You know, that famous Malfoy and Harry kind of play off. And I feel like when they get the new cast, this could really set them apart, just to show us that Harry and Draco have this relationship. I think deep down they care about each other, but it's just on the top surface. There's like a lot of to and from. So I feel like there's a taunting moment for Harry in public, fainting, and you know, toxic masculinity versus vulnerability, because Draco's kind of trying to show off that he's hard and stuff, and he's playing on that fact. I think it's contrasted with Snape's latitude, and I feel like Harry has like got a bit of internal embarrassment because he's like worried that why did he act so differently compared to everybody else. So I feel like that scene would be nice to have in there. It'll give us a bit more like a view of it and how they act, and a bit more inside the trains, because I feel like there's lots of dialogue that happens in the trains which we don't get in the movies. And there's a bit here where I think would be nice playing off on the back of the realistic view of like mental health, because McGonagall and Pomfrey kind of, he's taken to like the hospital wing and they're setting the Dementors around the school. So this is like a quote from it. She muttered, pushing back Harry's hair and feeling his forehead. He wouldn't be the last one who collapses. Yes, all clammy, terrible things they are, and the effect they have on people who are already delicate. I'm not delicate, said Harry crossly. This is a Pomfrey scene. I feel like this is a nice one to have because it shows Harry's kind of reaction to what's going on. And the scene entirely cut from the movie, but it's incredibly important, setting the fact that firstly, Pomfrey is quite important, like the nurse looking after everyone. She's trying to make him feel better. Also that she encourages to say that it's good to have a teacher who like understands these things, because Lupin gave him chocolate. So the teachers and adults need a little bit more quiet support. Even though Harry rejects it, it's nice to see that option there, that they've got like someone to rely on. And it also reaffirms Lupin's credibility. Did the scary old Dementor frighten you too, Weasley? Guess who said that? So we've finally got a defense against the dark arts teacher who knows his remedies. Can you guess who said that? Let me know in the comments. This episode should have a cliffhanger, and the cliffhanger should be Harry's death prediction in the Grim. I feel like that's where we're going to be cliffhanging on. So we have the class. She explains what's going on. Harry will do his swirl, famous cup look, and then we see the Grim. And I feel like this is a nice point we can have a cliffhanger on. And the next episode will be where the Dementors actually arrive. So in summary, in this episode, I really want to see more about the train journey and how the Dementors affect Harry. And then I want that middle scene where Malfoy confronts him and kind of like, why did you faint? That's very important. And then having that extra information about Pomfrey kind of trying to treat him, and with the chocolate scene and finding out why did he act in this way? Why did he collapse? And then that final touch where we're going to be in the class and Harry's going to see the Grim, which will be the cliffhanger. All of these extra little steps will be very good to add in there. I want them done in a magical way, in a dark atmosphere. We have left behind season 1 and season 2, where we had more of like a whimsical feel, like a Home Alone type feel with the Chris Columbus kind of setting the scene. But now it's darker. I do think as they grow up, it is getting darker. It's getting more serious, more like a horror thriller. But it's important to keep those key elements that we enjoyed in the first seasons. If you're liking these episodes, please drop a like on it. It really helps me, encourage me to carry on making more of these. I know season 3 hasn't officially been announced by HBO, but I wanted to get my vision in because I'm on a roll now. I'm doing quite a few of these. I enjoyed doing season 1, season 2, which you can watch in full, uncut, entire seasons, episode back to back. I'll put a link in the description to a playlist, and I'll link it to the end cards. I think you really enjoyed that. I liked making them. I'm hoping you're liking watching these. And let's get this going. I am on Twitter at Wondatell, Twitter also known as X. I'm quite active there, so I post like questions and stuff and some behind the scenes stuff asking you what do you think I should do with this episode. So do get involved, and I'll see you on the next episode, which is on screen now.